of Hurricane Ian. The mayor, of course, will bring comments regarding the storm. Following the mayor, Sheriff John Mina will talk about law enforcement. We have Dr. Maria Vasquez, who was the Orange County Superintendent of Schools. Chief Laura Lee Avery, the Emergency Operations Center Manager, is here as well. And of course, Danny Banks, the Orange County Public Safety Director. There is a lot to jump into, so we'll begin right away with Mayor Demings. Mayor?
All right, thank you, Dr. Williamson. Thank you to all of you for being here. We just concluded our Board of County Commission meeting, and we are now fully activated within our Emergency Operations Center, and we are prepared to respond to the storm. I am joined here today, in addition to those who you have heard Dr. Williamson introduce. We have members of our Board of County Commission who have joined us. In addition, we also have Ms. Tiffany Hummer Hawkins, the interim CEO of Lynx, who is in the room, should any questions come up in that regard. And we also have our Director of Public Safety, Danny Banks, who has joined us. The goal this evening is to really share as much information as we possibly can with you. We want to ensure our residents that we are prepared. We're going to be transparent in the things that we say. Of course, there has been a change in the track regarding Hurricane Ian. I want to begin by thanking our residents for taking Hurricane Ian seriously. We have seen a lot of preparation occurring across our community. We ask that all of you have your storm preparations in place tonight. We will likely begin to experience different effects from the storm tomorrow. We are now under a hurricane warning according to the National Weather Service, and so what that means is that things here within Orange County in terms of the projected path of the storms have gotten worse at this time. Rain is expected to be our primary threat, and they have updated the projection for a rainfall to 12 to 18 inches. What that really means is that that is going to create some potential flooding in low-lying areas here within our community. So I'm going to talk more about that in just a few moments, about what we're doing and what we're asking you, the public, to do. But strong winds will also be a threat, with peak sustained winds predicted to begin on Wednesday afternoon. That's the latest information that the National Weather Service has provided to us. They are predicted that we will see winds as high as 74 miles per hour. That's sustained winds, and gusts could be 80 miles per hour or even greater. So that will cause significant damage to our community. The wind gusts are predicted to start around 4 p.m. tomorrow and last until as late as 10 a.m. on Friday. So this is a multi-day phenomena that we're going to be dealing with. With this rapidly changing hurricane, Orange County will be opening all of its general population shelters tomorrow morning. All of these shelters have the capacity for 500 individuals or more, slightly more. There will be 3 pet-friendly shelters: Apopka High School, Oak Ridge High School, and Timber Creek High School. Again, all of these that I just listed will be accepting individuals, humans, and pets at those locations. I want to thank Dr. Vasquez from the Orange County Public Schools for the partnership with the schools in providing those facilities. All of the shelters will open tomorrow at 9 a.m. with one exception. We will be opening the Apopka High School location at 8 a.m. For any Orange County resident requiring special needs, we ask that you contact us simply by dialing. If you're in Orange County, all you have to do is dial 311. You don't have to remember a lot of phone numbers. We can arrange transportation for individuals who have special needs and need to be sheltered. I want to also point out that we do work in partnership with the American Red Cross. We work also in partnership with the Homeless Services Network for those individuals who are perhaps without permanent housing here within our community. We have those relationships in place. Also, I want to remind our community as we talk about certain locations where we're going to recommend that some evacuations occur, that our hotels do have capacity. The last update I received, there's capacity within our hotels for those who may choose to go to a hotel if you can afford it. If not, you should seek shelter at one of the shelter locations. Due to the track of the storm, we will be suspending normal Orange County government operations starting tonight at 11:59 p.m., and that will last through Friday at September the 30th. Our non-essential personnel are the ones who primarily will not be coming into the workplace. However, all of the essential personnel, that includes our first responders, the law enforcement, fire, corrections personnel, utilities, public works, and others who are deemed essential personnel. They all still have to come to work, and they are the ones who we have trained well. We say that when we have a crisis like this, it's showtime. It's time to execute those broad-based plans that we have. Right now, normal Orange County operations are scheduled to resume at 12:01 a.m. on Saturday, October the 1st. Orange County Fire Rescue crews will be heading out tomorrow to all mobile home parks within Orange County. The crews will be encouraging residents to consider staying with a family or friends during the storms. In terms of evacuations, Orange County Public Works, along with the Sheriff's Office, is making every effort to identify areas prone to historic street flooding and will perform road closures. Public Works plans on closing a portion of Reams Road in West Orange County from Central Drive to New Market Drive tomorrow at 9 a.m. until further notice, and that is due to anticipated flooding. Here are the other areas that are prone to flooding. Lakes of Windermere at Peachtree and Reams Road, the Oasis and Reams Road area, Orla Vista. Of course, historically, we've seen some flooding that significantly impacted the residents in the Orla Vista West Side Manor area. In addition, Bonnybrook and the Oak Ridge and John Young Road area, we anticipate flooding that may be somewhat significant in those areas. Now, I want you to listen very carefully at what I'm about to say at this point. It is recommended that residents consider evacuating flood-prone areas sooner than later. We want you to take it seriously. We do not want to have a situation where, because of flooding, persons cannot leave their neighborhoods because that translates into a public safety crisis for those families. So we want you to plan in advance. If those low-lying areas that I have already enumerated that are prone to flooding, we're recommending to those residents that they consider evacuating. Going to an area in the county that I did not list, going to a hotel or seeking shelter or going to other locations. Remember, the forecast calls for heavy rains that will cause accessibility issues due to the predicted high water levels. Orange County has already been oversaturated with rain. Also, a word of caution, if you have encountered street flooding in the past during regular rainstorms, you might want to consider evacuating as well, as the streets may prove difficult, as I said, for public safety, for individuals to be reached by emergency response teams, etc. I hope those of you got what I just said. Our 5 sandbag locations were extremely busy today, so we know our residents are taking this seriously. We have now estimated we've given out nearly 170,000 sandbags from Orange County locations. In terms of solid waste collection, here's the update. Until noon on Wednesday, September the 28th, Orange County utilities will collect residential curbside garbage, yard waste, and large items. Until noon tomorrow, recycling carts will not be collected. At that time, we are asking all of our residents after noon tomorrow to remove and safely store all materials until your next regularly scheduled collection day, garbage collection day. There will be no collections on Thursday, September the 29th. Curbside service will resume when conditions are safe to do so. However, yard waste collection may be delayed slightly longer. I will tell you that we do have contracts in place with haulers, et cetera, if we have significant damage from a hurricane where we call in extra help, and that's post-storm to help do debris removal. The Orange County landfill and transfer stations will be closed to the public at noon on Wednesday, September the 28th. That is, of course, tomorrow through Thursday, September 29th. So we will be closing the landfill on tomorrow and Thursday. They will reopen when conditions are safe to do so. Our goal is to protect our staff who has to work at these facilities as well, protect our citizens. When we begin to experience high winds, we do not want people driving down the road with debris and items that could become a potential hazard for others. Due to Hurricane Ian, all Orange County Head Start centers will be closed from Wednesday, September 28th through at least Friday, September the 30th, with current plans to reopen on Monday, October the 3rd. Now, we will be coming to members of our public fairly regularly with updates. And so if anything changes about the things that I'm saying to you now, look forward to an update. Orange County Animal Services will be staffed by 8 to 10 people through the duration of the storm. Staff will stay overnight to care for the animals. So we get those questions from time to time. What are you doing about the animals? Well, our staff is prepared to stay. A backup generator is on site at our animal services facility. Other things that we want to talk about, our theme parks. You probably, if you're in the media, you've heard from them by now, but Walt Disney World, SeaWorld, and Universal are planned to close theme parks for at least 2 days. What they are saying to us is that the theme parks will be closed tomorrow and Thursday. So those are the updates that I wanted to give you at this time. I'm going to now ask Sheriff Mina to come forward and share with you from a law enforcement perspective. Sheriff John Mina.
Thank you, Mayor. So as Hurricane Ian approaches the Gulf Coast and Central Florida, we want our residents and visitors to know that the Orange County Sheriff's Office has been making preparations so that we can continue our law enforcement operations before, during, and after the storm. Our Emergency Operations Center is open, is operating 24 hours a day, and our personnel are preparing to begin their 12-hour shifts that they'll work through the duration of the storm and through the entire recovery period if needed. So now is the time to finalize that hurricane plan. Prepare your family that they're going to have to hunker down, stay inside where it's safe until the storm moves through our region. So I can't stress enough how important that is. That listen to your local leaders, listen to the warnings, stay safe, stay inside. You know, ignoring these warnings only puts you and your family members at risk. So be assured, our deputies will be out there in force to keep this community safe. We have extra personnel that are coming into work again before, during, and after the storm to keep this community safe. And for those who are going to relocate to shelters, we want to know those shelters are extremely safe. Law enforcement personnel will be there to provide security at all of the shelters. So it's up to all of us to look out for one another. So now is a good time to check on our elderly neighbors, and certainly after the storm passes through as well. Also, please be on the lookout for any suspicious activity and let us know if you see anything. After the storm passes, we want you to avoid down power lines and any standing water. And so to those of you who would take advantage of a natural disaster by committing crimes, I've already said we have plenty of personnel out there, additional personnel. You will be caught, you will be arrested, and you will face additional charges because of the state of emergency. So please, everyone, stay safe. Don't hesitate to reach out to the Orange County Sheriff's Office, of course, calling 911 for emergencies, and our non-emergency number is 407-836-4357. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to our superintendent, Dr. Vasquez.
Thank you, Sheriff Medina. As you well know, our schools will be closed beginning tomorrow through Friday. All extracurricular activities were postponed starting this afternoon. That includes athletic events, and it also includes any homecoming events that may be scheduled. But I'm sure that schools will work hard to reschedule, as many of those are just once-in-a-lifetime opportunities. All of our district offices will be closed through Friday. The following shelters will open tomorrow. Our special needs shelters are Olympia High School and University High School. Primary general population shelters include Ocoee High School, Dr. Phillips High School, Apopka, Timber Creek, and Oak Ridge High Schools are also pet-friendly shelters. We will continue to communicate with our families, and we will provide messaging Friday as to the status of opening schools Monday, October 3rd. We will hope to take Friday afternoon and Saturday to begin to assess any damages in our facilities and have our team out so that we are able to open our schools safely on Monday. We have canceled the school board meeting scheduled for tomorrow, September 29th. Any of the agenda items listed for that board meeting will be added to the October 11th board meeting. We also had our State of the Schools event scheduled for Thursday morning. That has also been canceled, and information about rescheduling will be forthcoming. All facility use rental agreements for this weekend have also been canceled. The Saturday administration of the SAT testing has been postponed, and a new date will be determined in the near future and be communicated out to our students and families. My thoughts are with our students, our families, and our employees as they prepare for the storm. I encourage everyone to shelter in place and be safe as we deal with the impacts of Hurricane Ian. And now I will turn it over to Chief Avery.
Good evening. I'm Chief Avery with the Orange County Emergency Management. I'm your emergency manager here in Orange County. So you've already heard it a couple of times. Our EOC is at a level 1 activation. I have almost 100 people, if not more, in the Emergency Operations Center that is actively working to prepare for the storm response. I can't thank Orange County Public Schools enough for providing, working with us and providing the shelters. In addition, the Orange County Convention Center is currently housing a lot of equipment that will be used during response. We have 3 FEMA teams currently being stored, along with a lot of other equipment. Today is the last day to prepare. We need everyone to heed the warnings and make sure that your family plan is in action at this time. If you are coming to a shelter, shelters, although we're going to take care of you, they are not the most comfortable place to be. So if you have family or friends that you can stay with so that you can be more comfortable, please do so. If you are coming to a shelter, there are things that you need to bring with you. Whether you're bringing your children, your baby, your pet, you need to plan for at least 5 days, 5 to 7 days of having everything that you need to self-sustain you and your family while at the shelter. That includes bringing your dog food, your cat food, your medication, and anything else that you may need, a pillow, a blanket for each of your members. So please make sure that if you are going to shelter, that you plan accordingly and bring everything you need with you. I am saying prayers that everyone will be safe as we go through this storm. I will say that we've been through this before. You should be proud that we have many, many people in Orange County that are well-trained and ready to respond, and that we're prepared the best that we can be for the situation that is upon us. So be safe. Please continue to listen to our partners in the news media and heed to the warnings and the messaging that we are sharing to keep you and your family safe. Thank you.
Okay, I know there have been some questions about our public bus system, and I'm going to ask Ms. Homer Hawkins to come forward to kind of just share with you the operational plans for links. Of course, Sunrail has ceased operations for the next couple of days or so, but I wanted to give her the opportunity to talk to you. There are a number of our workers, employees who still are going to be going to work, and she'll explain kind of how they will work during the next couple of days. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. Currently, Links is at full operations for our fixed bus route service. Our Access Links, which is our paratransit service, is providing life-sustaining trips only and will through the duration of this event. Tomorrow morning, we will make a decision based on the winds. The buses are removed off the street at 35-mile-an-hour sustained winds. So in coordination with our funding partners and community leaders, we'll make an appropriate time estimate of when that will happen. We will communicate that to the public via all media channels. But for the most current information, golinks.com is your best bet. 1,200 Links employees are out there right now doing their best and getting everybody where they need to go so that most everybody can stay home tomorrow. So thank you.
Okay, so with that, you heard quite a bit at this point. The next 24 to 48 hours are going to be critical for all of us as we kind of adjust to the emerging storm that is coming before us. I'm going to open it up for any questions that you may have at this time. There's a microphone that's moving around the room, so here we go. All right.
Okay. Melissa Thomas with Florida National News. Wanted to, obviously you guys mentioned a lot about the flooding in the lower areas. I wanted to find out from you, given the last disaster that Orange County encountered, from that one to this one, what has been the biggest point of improvement that you guys have seen in your operation?
Well, we've done a number of things by working with our public works to improve where we can. Our stormwater drain systems, we have invested in acquiring additional pumps and what have you. We certainly will look at the rainfall and the water levels. We have already taken some proactive steps to lower water bodies where we can, to accommodate the additional rainfall and the capacity. But we know that because of some designated areas that are already saturated, we know that some of those areas that for a multitude of reasons, likely with 12 to 18 inches of rain, will surpass the capacity of those immediate areas. And so we, again, I want to reiterate, we do not want people stuck within those areas if the roads become impassable and they can't really get vehicles in, get vehicles out. So we continue to try to perfect our plans in terms of a public works system and infrastructure that we're continuing to build out. But as we talk about roads and what have you, you've heard me on a number of occasions now talk about some of those plans for the future. You know, we got a pending sales tax that will work to improve the overall transportation and road infrastructure within our community. All of that is going to likely prove to be very critical at some point going forward, but that's part of a larger plan of action that we have. Yeah. Other questions?
Treasurer with News 6. I've been covering a story about Apopka residents and how they're frustrated because of an issue with flooding. It is Clear Lake Estates, Clear Lake Landings, right near Clearwater Lake. This particular resident told me that she's reached out to both Apopka officials and Orange County officials, hoping that there's something you all can do for her and her neighbors ahead of the storm. Is there anything that can be done for them besides provide them with sandbags? I did get a chance to look at their backyard. The water has overflowed at the playground, the gazebo. It's filtering into their backyard. And they've also said they're worried about being attacked by unwanted guests, like long alligators that they've seen so far since the flooding began.
Okay, I'm not familiar with the specific issue, but we'll be glad to take the information. Depends on whether they're in the city, they're in the unincorporated area of the county. We'll follow up with the information that you provide with us. But I don't want to underestimate that it is projected that this hurricane, when it hits landfall, it could be a Category 3 or 4 storm. Regardless of any of the preparation that we would do with infrastructure, when you have that type of a magnitude of wind and rain, it will surpass anything that we would normally prepare for on a day-to-day basis. But in this situation, that which that community probably experiences on a bad rainy day is just really going to become exacerbated. This is why we're asking them to kind of listen to what we're saying now and try to prepare. So our Public Works Director is in the room. Joe Conkle and the Deputy Director is here as well. I don't know, are you all familiar with the specific circumstance that the reporter is speaking to? If so, we're going to ask you to come forward and try to also respond to our efforts. But our goal is to be responsive to things that we can control. We will certainly try to control with our pumping systems, et cetera. Joe? Joe Conkle, he's the Director of our Public Works Department.
Thank you, Mayor. That area, I believe, was in the city of Apopka, and I recall that the mayor from Apopka had reached out to those folks to try to provide some relief. That was not an item that we were working on within the unincorporated Orange County area. Okay.
Okay.
Right here, Kendra Douglas with WESH. This is for the sheriff. Sheriff,
Sure.
I know right now everything is still kind of up in the air, but have you guys discussed or talked about possible curfews for people and just making sure that if anyone, you know, really takes it seriously and is inside and in safe areas?
So anytime that we were leading up into a hurricane of this magnitude, we always discuss that. So what I do as sheriff, I reach out to the other local sheriffs in the surrounding counties, also municipalities like Orlando. We kind of discuss it, see what the impact would be. I know that from my experience back when I was chief and sheriff, it does get confusing for residents if one county is under a curfew and one county's not, say Seminole is not, and Orange is, and same vice versa, and also with Osceola. So we kind of coordinate. At this time, there's no plans to put a curfew in place. We're asking people to do the right thing, stay inside. And I will tell you that, I'd mentioned crime and criminals. They don't pay attention to curfews. So we'll be out there. We'll be guiding people to safety. I think it's been my experience also. The most people, they hunker down, they stay inside. The criminals who are going to be out there committing crimes, we're going to catch them anyway, and they're not going to pay attention to a curfew. But as we always do, when the storm passes, we'll kind of assess the damage. Specifically, we'll be looking at road closures and major power outages. If that were to occur, then we'll kind of regroup with the rest of the folks and talk about is that something that we should do if we're going to have these major power outages for an extended period of time. Certainly the power companies would be helping us with that information. But at this time, there's no plans for a curfew. Asking people to heed all of our warnings. Everyone's been telling our residents to stay inside, stay safe, and we'll assess after the storm passes through. And like with anything, things could change in 10 hours, and so we just ask that people listen to the media, follow social media, certainly follow the Orange County Sheriff's Office for any information about that.
Mr. Mayor, this is Steve Hudak from the Orlando Sentinel. I have a couple of questions, if I may. Have you declared a local state of emergency? And if so, what does that enable you to do?
So we have declared a local state of emergency, and we did that yesterday. And the reason why we do that is so that we are consistent with the statewide emergency orders, and it also allows us from an administrative perspective to suspend some procurement items. So if we need to make emergency purchases, we're able to do that. It also sometimes is a prerequisite for getting reimbursement for any FEMA related dollars, et cetera, and so that is underway. In fact, to also in terms of what the sheriff was mentioning about a curfew, I listen to law enforcement, and if at some point the sheriff says to me that he feels like an emergency order is in place to enact a curfew, we will work with law enforcement to give them all of the tools that they need by which to keep all of us safe. And so we will wait to hear from them in that regard. In some cases, what emergency orders may do is provide some protection against price gouging types of efforts that are underway. So we have the ability to enact any of those types of things, but it's a dynamic process that we work in, and we base it upon what we're actually experiencing. We've been proactive in putting the emergency order in place, and then there may be some subsequent emergency orders that provide some other types of relief as well.
Every hurricane's different. We've learned that over the years. But in 2017, one of the biggest issues we had was debris, hurricane debris, mounds and mounds of that. Do we have contracts in place with contractors to help remove that stuff if it happens? And do we have the funding available for it?
So I go back long enough in these 40 plus years to have been numerous hurricanes, but in 2004, in this same relative period of time, August to September, so within 6 weeks, we had 3 major hurricanes, Hurricanes Charlie, Jean, and Francis. Debris was a significant issue for us. We learned a lot from that. We have contracts in place with haulers who can come in if we have to do a massive debris removal. And if you go back to 2004, that predates Katrina. Katrina was in 2005, but in 2004, think about that. 3 major hurricanes within 6 weeks. Every couple of weeks, we had to make certain that that debris was picked up and relocated out of our community to keep us safe from flying debris. So we have contracts in place with different haulers who will come in, and so we're prepared in that regard. But that's typically a post-storm kind of an operation that when we post-storm types of operations is reimbursable by FEMA. We keep a lot of metrics and numbers associated with the debris that we pick up at that time, and so we try to keep it out of our landfill if we can.
I promise this is the last question. Lots of folks don't want to leave their homes. They don't want to evacuate, whether they're in a mobile home, whether in a place that floods. What do you have to say to those folks who just don't want to leave?
There will always be some people who will not leave their home. But if you have the ability, if I gave you some specific areas that we are concerned about, if you're in those areas, you really should listen to the direction that we're giving at this time. Generally speaking, the homes, because of improvements in our building codes, they are much safer today than perhaps they were decades ago. And in some cases, a person's desire to stay within their home, as long as they have all of the supplies, they have done the appropriate preparedness, it may be appropriate for the overwhelming majority of people to stay within their home. If you are a person with special needs and you rely on oxygen, let's say, and some other things, and you live alone, it is not in your best interest to stay alone in those circumstances. So each family, each person has to evaluate their circumstances based upon what they think the risk exposure is. So this is why it's going to be important as this storm gets closer. With hurricanes, you tend to have enough time to prepare and react. What we do not know about is the tornadic activity that could occur. What we are hearing from the National Weather Service is that there is a probability that before the major central energy from the hurricane touches us, we may experience some tornadoes that are spun off from the wind systems. That is something that you can't adequately plan for. You don't have hours, days to prepare for. And so because of the magnitude of this storm, there's a lot of, I think, storm-related unpredictability that is going to cause some challenges. So I say to the persons who have to make the evaluation and make an informed decision. You have the opportunity to call up the experts. You're going to be given information by the meteorologists through our local media. They're going to give you suggestions and advice. We will give you suggestions and advice. And we hope that our residents are going to listen and make the best decisions to keep themselves safe during that period of time. That's the best that I can tell them. Okay. With that, thank you all. I know it's been busy. I see the mic up here. Is that an indication that somebody else has a question? Okay, there's a question in the back.
Okay, Melissa Thomas with Florida National News again. Wanted to get a quick follow-up, Mr. Mayor. I know you'd recently been in touch with the mayor of Ponce down in Puerto Rico, so wanted to get your thoughts on Hurricane Fiona's effect down there and kind of if there were any lessons or key takeaways from what happened down there and the hurricane response there compared to what we're doing to respond to Ian here.
Well, we do have the benefit of seeing other people's experiences. Sometimes, there are successes with their experiences, sometimes a failure. We learn from all of it. And I had the privilege, I do have relationships there with those in Ponce and in Puerto Rico. I had the privilege of serving on the FEMA, a National Advisory Council that kind of sets policy recommendations for the entire nation in terms of crisis response. I served during the Obama administration and then during a portion of the Trump administration. And so what we try to do is make certain that we are proactive, that we have robust plans, and that we exercise those plans so that when the crisis occurs, we respond appropriately with the full breadth of our capabilities. What we saw from Puerto Rico with this particular storm, they improved from Maria and some of the others most recently in terms of their response. They're in a better position with the infrastructure. Still not perfect. You know, there's been probably billions of dollars spent to shore up their electrical system and their infrastructures there. It's still not where it needs to be. That's a work in progress. I know my wife had the opportunity to travel there over the weekend, and she saw some things, but she was encouraged that they had a plan of action. The federal government was there on the ground in Puerto Rico. But in a situation like this, that first 72 hours or so, we trained that pretty much it's the local response that is responsible for stabilizing the situation. When it goes beyond the 72 hours or so, it exceeds our resources and capabilities, and that's when we rely on the state and the federal government. FEMA then comes in, and so all of those relationships are well established here within this area. And I know that with Puerto Rico recently with Fiona, there was FEMA on the ground and within a short period of time, and bringing the full weight and breadth of the federal government and all of their resources. So I anticipate that we got a well-capable local team, and our state Department of Emergency Management, they are really good. One thing about Florida, because we're a peninsula dealing with a storm, we have some of the best responders anywhere in the nation who are well experienced, and so that's a benefit that we have. So with that, thanks for the question. Thank you all for coming this evening. We're ready to go.